Hi, in this Excel tutorial, we're going to go over 4 ways to round in Excel. It might seem odd that there's so many rounding functions, but having them helps add flexibility to meet the needs of different projects. In this tutorial, we'll look at the round, round up, round down, and MROUND functions in Excel. With the exception of MROUND, to use the rounding functions in this example, you'll need to know 2 pieces of information. 1, the number that you want to round, and 2, the number of digits you want to round the number to. When asked for the number of digits to round to, this refers to how far or close you need to round from the decimal point. For example, to round to digits to the right of the decimal point, you'll use a positive number. To round to digits to the left of the decimal point, you'll use a negative number. And also, as a refresher, conventional rounding rules say that for numbers ending in 0 to 4, you would round down, and for numbers ending with 5 through 9, you would round up. And by the way, if you're finding this tutorial helpful, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more Excel tips. So let's take a look. To round our example number 637.148 to the nearest whole number, we can use the round function. Reference the number, or you can type it in, whichever one. And then for the number of digits, we'll use 0, because for a whole number, you don't want anything to the right of the decimal point. And it rounds to 637. So then, if we were to do the same thing, but use a -1 for the number of digits, it would round to 640. And if we use a -2, it would round to 600. On the other hand, if we were to use a 1, it would round to the nearest tenth because that's the first number to the right of the decimal point. Using a 2 would round it to the nearest hundredths, and using a 3 would round to the nearest thousandths. So applying the round up and the round down functions work very similarly to the round function, except that using them forces Excel to ignore a little bit some of the conventional rounding rules. And what I mean by that is that round up will always round higher away from 0, where round down will always round lower towards 0. So let's take a look. If we are to copy what we used in our round formula, and we'll use find and replace to change round to round up, notice how our numbers rounded up farther from 0. So like the hundredths, instead of 600 went to 700, 640 stayed the same. Our whole number went to 638, and so on. The round down formula, however, will round towards 0 rather than away. So let's find and replace round up with round down. And notice how now our numbers have rounded down towards 0 rather than farther away. So like our hundredths rounded 637 to 600 rather than 700, 630 rather than 640. The whole number will remain at 637, and so on. The MROUND function works a little bit differently in that it rounds to the nearest multiple, which is just the number that it can be divided by without having a remainder. So a common example is if you want to round to the nearest 5 or the nearest multiple of 5, which in this example, we type MROUND, reference our number, and tell it to round to the nearest multiple of 5, it would round to 635. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial on how to round in Microsoft Excel. If you did, please make sure to like the video and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Thanks.